Imagine you pour your heart into something, every dream, every late night, every ounce of who you are, and then you walk into it, expecting to feel at home. Instead, you're met with cold stares, whispered doubts, and a door slammed in your face. This isn't just any story. This is the story of Taylor Swift. Yes, that Taylor Swift. The woman whose voice has filled stadiums, whose songs have mended broken hearts, whose name lights up billboards across the world. A superstar, a businesswoman, a force of nature who spent years building an empire note by note. But tonight, she's not here for the spotlight. No sequin dresses, no roaring crowds, no flashing cameras. Just Taylor, stepping into her own restaurant like any other person, with nothing but a soft sweater, faded jeans, and a quiet request for a table. The place is called Melody and Vine, a high-end gem tucked into the city's bustling heart. It's her creation, a vision born from her love of music, good food, and bringing people together. The kind of spot where the air smells of rosemary and warm bread, where crystal glasses clink softly under golden lights, and where every corner whispers elegance. Servers glide between tables, balancing trays of wine and plates so pretty they could be art. Chefs call out orders in the kitchen, their voices blending with the sizzle of pans and the rhythmic chop of knives. The diners, dressed in sleek suits and shimmering dresses, chat in low, happy murmurs, their laughter floating like a melody over the hum of luxury. It's a dance, perfectly choreographed, a symphony of fine dining. And then she walks in. Taylor Swift doesn't stride in like the icon she is. There's no grand entrance, no entourage trailing behind her. She's just a tall figure in a cream-colored sweater, her blonde hair pulled back in a loose ponytail, her sneakers scuffing softly against the polished floor. No one would guess she's the one who dreamed up this place, who signed the checks, who sketched out the idea of a restaurant where everyone could feel welcome. Tonight, she's not the Taylor Swift of sold-out tours or red carpets. She's a customer, one who wants a table, a meal, a moment to see her dream through someone else's eyes. That's the thing about Taylor. She believes the only way to know something, really know it, is to live it. No special treatment, no VIP pass, just the raw, unfiltered truth of what Melody and Vine really is. But what happens next? Oh, it's not what you'd expect. Not even close. The whispers start almost the second she steps through the glass doors. Heads turn, but not in awe, not yet. Eyes narrow, lips curl into faint smirks, and the air shifts. It's subtle at first, like a breeze you barely notice until it chills your skin. She feels it, though, those quick, judging glances from the staff. The way they size her up, from her casual jeans to her unassuming sweater, and decide in a heartbeat she doesn't belong. This is her restaurant, her sanctuary, and yet she's standing there, unnoticed, unwanted, a stranger in her own house. Her chest tightens, not with anger, not yet, but with something sharper, something that stings deeper than she'd imagined. She takes a breath, steadying herself, and walks toward the hostess stand. Two employees stand behind it, their faces lit by the soft glow of a tablet screen. Emily's there, young, sharp-featured, with an edge of impatience that seems to cling to her like perfume. Next to her is Jason, mid-20s, leaning in with a smirk that says he's already made up his mind about the world. They glance at Taylor, then at each other, a quick flicker of something passing between them. A whisper, a stifled laugh. She catches it, but her smile doesn't waver. Not yet. "Hey there," she says, her voice warm, the kind of warm that's carried her through 1,000 interviews. "Table for one, please." Emily barely looks up. She exhales, loud and dramatic, like Taylor's request is a personal attack on her night. "We're busy," she says, her tone flat as a stone. "Maybe try somewhere else." The words hit like a slap, quick and cold. Taylor blinks, glancing around. The dining room isn't packed. Several tables sit empty, their chairs tucked neatly in place. She's been here before, not as a guest, but as the owner, watching the space come to life. She knows it's not full, but she doesn't argue. Not yet. She tilts her head, her ponytail swaying slightly, and keeps her voice steady. "I don't mind waiting," she says, kind but firm. "I'll just take a look at the menu." Emily rolls her eyes, actually rolls them, like Taylor's some annoying kid begging for a candy bar. Jason smirks again, leaning closer to mutter something under his breath. Whatever it is, it makes Emily's lips twitch, her disdain sharpening. Look, she says, finally meeting Taylor's gaze, her eyes sweeping over the sweater and jeans like they're a crime scene. We have a dress code, you know. You don't exactly fit the type of crowd we serve here. The words hang there, heavy and sharp, slicing through the hum of the restaurant. A few nearby diners glance over, their forks pausing mid-bite, sensing something brewing. Taylor's breath catches. She's faced judgment before, paparazzi twisting her every move, critics tearing apart her songs, strangers assuming they know her soul. She's built a career on proving them wrong, on turning pain into power. But this is different. This is her place, built from her heart, her money, her belief that everyone deserves a seat at the table. And here she is, standing in it, being told she doesn't belong. Her fingers tighten around the edge of her sweater, but her face stays calm. She's not here to make a scene. Not yet. She's here to see the truth. And oh, she's about to get it. What happens next will leave you speechless. The whispers grow louder, the stares turn colder, and the rejection digs deeper. How far will this go before they realize who they've just pushed away? And when the truth comes crashing down, how will they handle it? This isn't just about Taylor Swift. It's about power, prejudice, and a lesson in respect that's about to shake this restaurant to its core. Stick with me. You won't want to miss a second of what's coming. Where are you reading from? Drop it in the comments. And don't forget to follow along for more stories that hit you right in the heart. The night's just beginning, and trust me, it's about to get wild. The air inside Melody and Vine feels alive, warm with the scent of roasted garlic and fresh herbs, buzzing with the soft clatter of plates and the hum of polite chatter. It's the kind of place where you'd expect a smile, a nod, a little bit of kindness. Taylor Swift stands just inside the glass doors, her cream sweater soft against her skin, her jeans faded but neat, her sneakers silent on the gleaming floor. She's not here to be Taylor Swift, the superstar who's sold millions of albums and broken every record worth breaking. No, tonight she's just Taylor, a woman who wants a table, a bite to eat, a chance to see her restaurant the way anyone else would. No red carpet, no backstage pass, just the real, unfiltered Melody and Vine. That's what she's after, the truth of what her dream has become. But the truth? It's about to hit her harder than she ever expected. She takes a step forward, her eyes scanning the room. It's beautiful, exactly as she'd pictured it when she sketched the idea on a napkin years ago. The golden light spills over sleek tables, the walls glow with subtle art, and the staff move like they're part of some elegant ballet. She built this place to be more than just a restaurant, to be a haven, a spot where anyone could walk in and feel like they belonged. That's the heartbeat of Melody and Vine, or at least it's supposed to be. Tonight, she's here to test that heartbeat, to feel it for herself. No one knows she's the owner, not the servers, not the cooks, not the two figures standing behind the hostess stand, eyeing her like she's crashed their private party. Emily's the first to catch her eye. She's young, maybe mid-20s, with sharp cheekbones and a tighter grip on her tablet than necessary. There's an edge to her, like she's already decided the night's too long and Taylor's just another hassle. Next to her is Jason, leaning against the stand, his dark hair flopping over one eye. He's got that cocky tilt to his head, the kind that says he's seen it all and doesn't care much for any of it. They're whispering now, their heads bent close, their eyes flicking toward Taylor. She catches the tail end of it, a soft snort from Jason, a twitch of Emily's lips. It's not loud, but it's enough. Her stomach twists, just a little. She's used to being watched, judged, sized up by strangers. But here, in her place, it stings differently. Taylor steps up to the stand, her ponytail swaying slightly as she moves. She smiles, that warm, disarming smile that's won over millions. "Hey there," she says, her voice light but steady. "Table for one, please." It's simple, polite, the kind of request no one should blink at. But Emily doesn't even look up. She lets out a huff, loud and sharp, like Taylor's just asked her to climb a mountain. Her fingers tap the tablet screen, and when she finally lifts her eyes, they're cold. "We're busy," she says, flat as a board. "Maybe try somewhere else." The words land like a shove, quick and dismissive. Taylor blinks, her smile faltering for a split second. She glances around. There's an empty table by the window, another near the bar. The dining room's alive, sure, but it's not bursting. She knows how this place runs. She's seen the numbers, the flow. They're not full, not even close. She takes a slow breath, keeping her cool. She's not here to pull rank or flash her name. She wants to see this through, to feel what anyone else would feel. I don't mind waiting, she says, her tone still kind, still patient. I'll just take a look at the menu while I do. Emily's eyes roll so hard it's a wonder they don't fall out. She turns to Jason, and there's that look again, the one they shared before. A quick, knowing glance, like they're in on some secret Taylor's too dumb to get. Jason smirks, his shoulders shaking with a silent laugh. Emily's lips tighten, and she leans forward just enough to make it personal. Look, she says, her voice dripping with something close to disgust. We have a dress code, you know. Her gaze rakes over Taylor, down the sweater, past the jeans, all the way to the sneakers, like she's inspecting a stain. You don't exactly fit the type of crowd we serve here. The words hang there, heavy and sharp, slicing through the warm hum of the restaurant. Taylor's chest tightens. She feels it now, that cold, familiar sting she's known her whole life. Being judged, being underestimated, being told she's not enough. She's faced it in boardrooms, on stages, in headlines that tore her apart. But this is her restaurant. She poured her soul into it. Every detail, every hope, every dollar. It's supposed to be different here. Inclusive, welcoming, a place where no one's turned away for being themselves. And yet, here she stands, in her own dream, being told she doesn't belong. Her fingers brush the edge of her sweater, grounding her. She could say something, could let the truth slip, watch their faces change. But she doesn't. Not yet. She wants to see how far this goes, how deep this runs. Her jaw tightens, but her voice stays calm, softer than before. I'll wait, she repeats, meeting Emily's eyes. There's no anger there. Not yet. Just a quiet strength, a flicker of something they don't catch. Emily scoffs, turning away like Taylor's not worth another second. Jason mutters something under his breath, and the smirk stays plastered on his face. The diners nearby shift in their seats, sensing the tension. A woman in a black dress glances over, her fork hovering midair. A man in a suit tilts his head, curious but silent. Taylor stands there, alone in the middle of it all, her heart beating a little faster now. This isn't what she expected, not even close. But it's real, and it's happening, and she's not walking away. Not yet. What comes next will test them all. Her, the staff, this whole place she built. The whispers are just the start. The cold stares? Just the beginning. Stay with me, because this night's about to turn upside down, and you won't believe what's waiting around the corner. The hum of melody and vine wraps around Taylor Swift like a blanket she can't quite pull tight. The golden lights flicker over empty tables, the clink of glasses echoes softly, and the scent of fresh basil drifts from the kitchen. She stands at the hostess stand, her cream sweater soft against her arms, her sneakers rooted to the polished floor. Emily's words still sting. You don't fit the type of crowd we serve here. And Jason's smirk lingers like a shadow. Taylor's been judged before, her whole life a parade of people telling her who she is or isn't. But this is her restaurant, her heartbeat in brick and mortar, and they're treating it. She's starting to realize, like she's some nobody who wandered in off the street. Her chest feels tight, but she keeps her face steady, her voice calm. She's not ready to walk away. Not yet. Emily's leaning on the stand now, her sharp eyes flicking back to her tablet, like Taylor's a fly she's already swatted. Jason's still smirking, his arms crossed, whispering something that makes Emily's lips twitch again. Taylor takes a slow breath, the kind she's mastered after years of facing crowds and critics. She's not here to flaunt her name or demand a throne. She's here to see Melody and Vine for what it really is. No filters, no excuses. I'll wait, she'd said, and she meant it. But Emily's eye roll and Jason's quiet laugh tell her waiting isn't the issue. It's her. They've already decided she doesn't belong. She glances around. Empty chairs stare back at her, mocking the "we're busy" line Emily threw out. This isn't about space. It's about something uglier. Her fingers brush her jeans, steadying her. She could let it go, turn around, slip out the door, and leave them to their little kingdom. But that's not Taylor. She's fought too hard, built too much, to let this slide. Her voice cuts through the hum, still kind but firmer now. Is there a manager I can speak to? The words land like a pebble in a still pond, small, but rippling. Emily's head snaps up, her eyebrow arching like Taylor's just dared her to a duel. Why? She snaps, her tone icy. You think complaining will change anything? She scoffs, loud enough for a nearby table to glance over. You're wasting your time. Jason shifts, his smirk fading just a touch, like he's sensing this might not end as neatly as they'd hoped. Taylor doesn't flinch. She meets Emily's glare, her hazel eyes steady. I'd still like to speak to the manager, she repeats, her voice unshaken. There's no anger in it, just a quiet steel, the kind that's carried her through storms bigger than this. Emily huffs, louder this time, and snatches the phone from the stand. Ryan. She barks into it, her eyes never leaving Taylor's. Can you come to the front? We've got a problem. That word, problem, hangs heavy, dripping with disdain. Taylor's jaw tightens, but she stays silent, filing Emily's gold name tag away in her mind. She's not here to fight. She's here to understand. And she's about to get her chance. Footsteps echo from the back, crisp and confident. Ryan emerges, a tall man in a white shirt, sleeves rolled up, his face set with the kind of polish that screams control. He's the floor manager, the one who keeps Melody and Vine's elegant chaos in line. His eyes land on Taylor, and for a split second, something flickers there, recognition maybe? But it's gone fast, buried under a layer of irritation. He stops at the stand, folding his arms. What's going on here? He asks, his voice clipped, glancing between Emily and Taylor like he's already decided who's at fault. Emily doesn't miss a beat. This girl wants a table, she says, her tone thick with mockery. I told her we're full, but she keeps insisting. Taylor's breath catches. Girl? She's 35, a woman who's built empires, and here she's reduced to some annoying kid in a sweater. She steps forward, extending her hand. Good evening, she says, her voice measured. I just wanted a quick meal. I saw some open tables, so I thought I'd wait. Her smile's still there, faint but real, offering Ryan a chance to reset this mess. He doesn't take her hand. Instead, he tilts his head, his eyes scanning her up and down. Sweater, jeans, sneakers, like he's appraising a knockoff purse. His arms stay crossed, his posture stiffening. Look, he says, lowering his voice like he's doing her a favor. We have a certain clientele here. You don't exactly fit the bill. The words hit like a punch, sharper than Emily's snark. Taylor's heart thuds, a mix of disbelief and something colder sinking in. She's heard this before. Too country, too pop, too much, too little, but never here, never in a place she made to defy that kind of gatekeeping. Are you saying I'm not welcome here? She asks, her voice even but laced with an edge now, a steel undertone they don't catch. Ryan shrugs, casual as if he's brushing off a speck of dust. I'm saying we have standards. If you don't meet them, that's not my problem. The final nail, blunt, careless, crushing. Taylor's hands curl slightly, her calm cracking just enough to let frustration simmer beneath it. She's not just any customer. She's the one who signed every lease, picked every light fixture, dreamed this place into being. And they're shutting her out. Before she can respond, a small figure steps forward, a young server, no older than 20, her face pale, her hands twisting nervously. Ryan, she whispers, her voice trembling. That's Taylor Swift. The room freezes. Forks pause mid-air, whispers die, and every eye locks on the girl. Sophie, her name tag reads. Ryan's posture stiffens, his face paling. What are you talking about? He mutters, his confidence cracking. Sophie swallows hard, her voice steadier now. That's Taylor Swift, the owner. Emily lets out a sharp, incredulous laugh. No way, she scoffs, shaking her head. You're kidding, right? But the doubt's there, creeping into her smirk, her wide eyes darting to Taylor. Jason's smirk vanishes, his arms dropping. Taylor doesn't say a word. She just stands there, tall and still, letting the weight of Sophie's words settle. The restaurant holds its breath, the air thick with shock, tension, and the dawning truth. They've just turned away the one person who holds this place in her hands. And now? Now they're about to find out what that means. The golden glow of Melody and Vine feels dimmer now, the air heavier than it was just moments ago. The clatter of plates and the murmur of diners fade into a thick, suffocating silence. Taylor Swift stands at the hostess stand, her cream sweater soft against her frame, her hazel eyes locked on Ryan, Emily, and Jason. Sophie's words, that's Taylor Swift. The owner, still echo, a quiet bomb that's blown the room wide open. Forks hover over plates, heads turn, and every breath in the restaurant seems to wait for what comes next. Taylor doesn't move. She doesn't need to. Her presence, tall, steady, unshaken, says more than any shout ever could. She's not just a customer they've dismissed. She's the heartbeat of this place, the one who built it from a scribbled dream into these walls. And they've just told her she doesn't belong. Ryan's face drains of color, his crisp white shirt suddenly looking too tight around his shoulders. His arms drop from their confident fold, his hands hovering like he doesn't know what to do with them. Emily's sharp laugh, no way, hangs in the air, but it's crumbling fast. Her smirk wavers, her eyes darting from Taylor to Ryan, searching for a lifeline. Jason, the cocky host who'd whispered and smirked, stares at the floor, his usual slant gone, his shoulders stiff like he's bracing for a storm. Sophie, the young server who spoke up, stands a step back, her pale face flushed, her fingers twisting together. She's the only one who saw it, who saw her, and now the whole room feels the weight of that truth. Taylor tilts her head slightly, her ponytail brushing her shoulder. Her voice, when it comes, is low, steady, cutting through the silence like a blade through silk. You didn't realize? She says, her eyes on Ryan. It's not a question. It's a challenge, soft but heavy. Ryan blinks, his mouth opening, but nothing comes out. He's caught, and he knows it. His polished confidence, the way he'd shrugged her off with "we have standards," unravels in front of everyone. Taylor's gaze doesn't waver. So tell me, she says, her tone deceptively calm. What exactly did you mean? The words settle like stones, each one sinking deeper. Ryan shifts, his Adam's apple bobbing as he swallows hard. I didn't mean any disrespect, he stammers, his voice unsteady, his eyes flicking to Emily as if she can save him. Taylor repeats his words, slow and deliberate. Didn't mean it? She pauses, letting the silence stretch, letting it press down on them. So what did you mean, Ryan? You looked at me, saw my sweater, my jeans, and decided I didn't belong here. Her voice stays even, but there's a fire beneath it now, a flicker of something raw. In my restaurant. Ryan flinches, his hands clenching at his sides. Emily folds her arms tighter, her sharp edges dulling under Taylor's stare. Jason's still looking anywhere but at her, his face pale. The diners lean in, their whispers buzzing like static. Did she say her restaurant? Is that really Taylor Swift? A woman in a red dress nudges her friend, her eyes wide. A man at the bar sets his glass down, watching like it's a scene from a movie. They're all part of it now, witnesses to a moment that's bigger than any of them expected. Taylor exhales, her hands resting on her hips. She's not here to yell, not here to tear them apart. She's here to make them see. Her gaze shifts, sweeping the room, past the staff, past the tables, past the golden lights she picked herself. This isn't just about me, she says, her voice rising just enough to carry. It's about everyone who's ever walked in here and been made to feel like they don't belong, like they're not the right type of customer. The words hit hard, and the room feels it. A woman at a nearby table nods, her lips pressed tight, like she's felt that sting before. A guy in a suit leans back, his arms crossed, his brow furrowing as if he's seeing this place, really seeing it, for the first time. She turns back to Ryan, her eyes locking on his. I built this place, she says, her voice steady but thick with something deeper. Disappointment, maybe, or hurt she won't let spill over. Every inch of it. I wanted it to be different. Welcoming. A place where no one's judged by what they wear or how they look. She pauses, letting that sink in. And tonight, you judged me. Ryan's jaw tightens, but he doesn't speak. He can't. Because deep down, he knows she's right. Emily shifts, her arms still crossed, but there's a crack in her armor now. Uncertainty flickering where her smirk used to be. Taylor rubs a hand along her jaw, a small gesture that grounds her. She's not here to humiliate them, not here to play the superstar card and watch them squirm. But this moment, it has to mean something. She looks at them, really looks at them. Ryan with his fading confidence, Emily with her crumbling edge, Jason with his sudden stillness. You didn't see me, she says, her voice firm but controlled. You saw an assumption. And if that's what you did to me, the owner, I can't help but wonder how many others you've turned away. How many people walked out of here feeling small because you decided they didn't fit? The restaurant feels smaller now, the walls closing in with the weight of her words. Diners shift uncomfortably, some nodding, some staring at their plates. Sophie's eyes shine with something like pride, like she's glad she spoke up. Ryan opens his mouth again, but no excuse comes. Emily's lips part, then close. Jason's hands shove into his pockets. They're trapped, not by Taylor, but by the truth she's laid bare. She doesn't need to say more. She just stands there, letting it settle, letting it burn. The lesson started, and no one, not the staff, not the diners, not even Taylor herself, can unsee it now. What happens next? Oh, it's only getting started. The reckoning's here, and it's about to change everything. The silence in Melody and Vine is deafening now. A heavy blanket draped over every table, every chair, every breath. Taylor Swift stands at the hostess stand, her cream sweater catching the soft glow of the lights she chose, her hazel eyes piercing through the tension. Ryan's pale, his manager's polish cracking like old paint. Emily's arms are still folded, but her sharp edges are dulling, her smirk replaced by a flicker of doubt. Jason's staring at his shoes, his usual cockiness nowhere to be found. Sophie, the young server who dropped the truth, watches from a step away, her face a mix of nerves and quiet hope. The diners, forks down, eyes wide, lean into the moment, their whispers gone. Taylor's words, "How many others have you turned away?" hang in the air, a question no one can dodge. This isn't just about her anymore. It's about every stranger who's walked through these doors and left feeling like nothing. Taylor exhales, slow and deliberate, her hands resting on her hips. She's not here to scream or fire them on the spot. That's not her style. She's faced bigger battles, critics who called her washed up, tabloids that twisted her every move. And she's learned patience, learned how to turn hurt into something stronger. But this cuts deep. Melody and Vine was her dream, a place where music and warmth could wrap around people, no matter who they were. And tonight, it's failed her. Failed them. She looks at Ryan, her voice softening but still firm. "I'm not upset," she says, and the room leans closer, hanging on every word. She pauses, letting it sink in. "I'm disappointed." That word, disappointed, lands harder than any shout. Ryan's jaw tightens, his eyes dropping for a split second. Emily shifts, her arms loosening like she's suddenly too tired to hold them up. Jason swallows, his hands still buried in his pockets. Disappointment from Taylor Swift isn't just a slap. It's a mirror, forcing them to look at themselves. She tilts her head, her ponytail swaying slightly. "You judged me," she says, her tone steady. "The owner. If this is how you treated me, I have to wonder how you treat everyone else. Everyone who doesn't have a name you recognize." Her gaze sweeps the room again, catching the eyes of diners who nod, who shift, who feel the weight of her words in their own quiet ways. Ryan clears his throat, his voice shaky but trying to claw back some control. "Miss Swift, I understand if you're upset." Taylor cuts him off with a small shake of her head, a soft chuckle slipping out. It's low, almost humorless. "Upset," she says. "No, Ryan. I'm disappointed. And somehow that's worse." He flinches, the truth sinking deeper. She steps closer, her presence filling the space without effort. "This isn't just about bad service," she continues, her voice firm but not loud. "It's about a mindset. One that assumes before it asks. One that judges before it understands." The words hit like ripples, spreading through the staff, the diners, the very air of Melody and Vine. She looks at them, really looks at them. Ryan, Emily, Jason, the gathered servers peeking from the back. "Here's the real question," she says, her tone shifting, a spark of challenge lighting her eyes. "What are you going to do about it?" Ryan blinks, caught off guard. He opens his mouth, scrambling. "I'll make this right," he says, his voice cracking before steadying. "We'll make it right." Taylor's expression doesn't change. She's heard promises before, empty ones, pretty ones, ones that fade when the spotlight dims. She wants more than words. She wants change. "Good," she says, her voice final. "But I'm not looking for an apology. I'm looking for something real." The room feels tighter now, the tension shifting from shock to something heavier, a reckoning. Taylor steps past the hostess stand, her sneakers soft against the floor, and heads toward an empty table near the window. She sits, crossing her legs, picking up a menu like she's just another guest. But she's not. Every eye follows her, every breath waits. Ryan hurries over, his hands fidgeting. "Miss Swift," he says, forcing a shaky smile. "Can I bring you anything while you wait?" She glances up, her eyes calm but sharp. "No," she says simply. "I want to see how you handle the rest of your customers first." It's not a request, it's a test. Ryan nods, swallowing hard, and steps back, the weight of her gaze pinning him like a spotlight. The restaurant stirs, the hum creeping back as diners return to their meals, their whispers buzzing louder now. She's staying? What's she doing? Taylor leans back in her chair, the menu in her hands, but her attention's elsewhere. She watches. She listens. She waits. Across the room, Emily shifts uneasily at the stand, her fingers twitching against the tablet. She's not in control anymore, and she knows it. The next guest steps up, a middle-aged man in a pressed shirt and slacks, his expression guarded after watching the drama unfold. Emily takes a slow breath, her voice wavering at first. "Good evening, sir," she says, forcing a smile that's stiff but trying. "How can I help you?" The man hesitates, his eyes flicking toward Taylor, then back. "Table for one, if you've got it," he says, his tone cautious. Emily nods, grabbing a menu. "Of course. Right this way." There's no eye roll, no snap judgment, at least not yet. She leads him to a table, her steps stiff, her fingers tight on the reservation book. Taylor watches, her face unreadable. It's a small moment, a tiny crack in Emily's old ways, but it's something. Fear, maybe, or the start of something more. She can't tell yet. Ryan moves through the dining room, his pace quicker now, checking on guests with a nervous energy. Jason straightens a chair, his smirk still gone, his hands busy for once. Sophie lingers near the back, her eyes on Taylor, a faint smile tugging at her lips. The air's different now, thicker with tension, yes, but laced with something else. A chance, a shift. Taylor sets the menu down, her fingers brushing the edge of the table. She's not here to eat, not really. She's here to see if they'll rise or fall under the weight of this night. And as the restaurant hums back to life, one question burns in her mind. Is this growth, or just a show? She's about to find out. Stick around. This is where it gets real. The doors of Melody and Vine swing shut behind Taylor Swift, the soft thud echoing in a room that's still reeling. The golden lights flicker over empty tables, the air thick with the scent of rosemary and the weight of what just happened. Taylor's gone, her cream sweater and quiet strength no longer filling the space, but her presence lingers like a song stuck in your head. She didn't yell, didn't fire anyone, didn't even raise her voice. She just sat there, watched, and left them with a question that's heavier than any order she could have given. What are you going to do about it? The diners murmur now, their forks clinking again, but their eyes keep darting to the hostess stand where Ryan, Emily, and Jason stand frozen. Sophie, the server who saw the truth, lingers nearby, her small frame a quiet anchor in the storm. Ryan runs a hand over his face, his crisp white shirt wrinkled now, his manager's polish long gone. He stares at the door, replaying every second, the way he'd shrugged Taylor off, the way her disappointment cut deeper than anger ever could. His stomach twists. He's always been the one in control, the one who kept this place running like clockwork. But tonight he's lost something bigger than a shift schedule. Emily's beside him, her arms uncrossed for the first time, her sharp edges softened by a tremble she can't hide. She keeps glancing at Ryan, then away, like she's waiting for him to fix this. Jason's leaning against the stand, his usual smirk replaced by a blank stare, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. They're not talking, not yet, but the silence says everything. Finally, Jason breaks it, his voice low, unsteady. "So what do we do now?" It's not a joke, not a brush-off. For once, he's asking something real. Ryan exhales, slow and shaky, rubbing the back of his neck. "We do better," he says, the words heavy but firm. Emily's head snaps up, her eyes narrowing. "That's easy to say now," she mutters, her voice quieter than usual, less sharp. "But what happens when she's not here? Do you really think we'll be any different?" Her arms fold again, but it's not defiance this time. It's doubt, raw and real. Ryan flinches, because she's not wrong. Change isn't a one-night fix. It's what comes after that counts. Sophie steps closer, her voice soft but steady. "No," she says, and they all turn to her, surprised. "But maybe we're supposed to start." Her eyes flicker with something. Hope, maybe, or just the courage that made her speak up earlier. "We can't pretend this didn't happen." Ryan nods, slow at first, then stronger. "She's right," he says. "We messed up big time, and we can't just wait for her to come back and catch us again." Emily's lips press tight, but she doesn't argue. Jason shifts, his foot tapping nervously. "Okay, fine," he says. "But how? It's not like we can undo tonight." They don't have an answer, not a full one, not yet. But the night's not over, and the restaurant's still alive around them. Diners watch from the corners of their eyes, some tapping their phones, the story already spreading. Taylor Swift rejected at her own spot. Ryan feels it, the unspoken judgment in the air, but it's not just about the headlines. It's about the people still here, the ones they can't let down again. He takes a breath, squaring his shoulders. "We start now," he says, his voice steadier. "With them." He nods toward the dining room, the guests who've seen it all. A woman approaches the stand, older, dressed in a simple cardigan and slacks. She moves slow, her steps hesitant, like she's testing the waters after watching Taylor get turned away. Emily stiffens, her old instincts twitching. Judge, dismiss, move on. But then she catches herself. She straightens, inhales, and forces her voice to soften. "Good evening, ma'am," she says, the words awkward but trying. "Do you have a reservation, or would you like a table?" The woman smiles, gentle and surprised. "A table for one, if possible." Emily nods, grabbing a menu. "Of course. Follow me." She leads her to a cozy spot near the bar, her hands tight on the menu, her posture stiff. It's not warm, not yet, but it's not cold either. It's a start. Across the room, Ryan moves with purpose, checking on a couple near the window. "Everything okay here?" he asks, his tone real, not the robotic script he's used 100 times. The woman nods, her husband smiling faintly. "Better now," he says, and Ryan knows he means more than the food. Jason's busier too, adjusting a chair for a kid who's squirming, his hands quick but careful. No smirk, no muttering, just doing something right for once. Sophie watches it all, a small smile tugging at her lips. She's been here longest, seen people brushed off before, but tonight feels different. Not perfect, but different. The night winds down, the tension easing into something quieter, something fragile. Taylor's words echo in their heads. "What are you going to do about it?" They're trying, fumbling, but trying. Ryan locks eyes with Emily across the stand, a silent agreement passing between them. They can't go back to how it was. Not after this. The last diners filter out, their chatter fading, and Ryan gathers the team. Emily, Jason, Sophie, a few servers from the back. "We messed up," he says, honest and raw. "And we're going to fix it. Starting tonight." But Taylor's not done with them yet. Before she'd left, she'd paused at the door, her hand on the glass, her voice low but clear. "I'll be back," she'd said, her eyes sweeping the room. "And next time, I won't be undercover." The promise hangs there now, a shadow over every move they make. Ryan feels it in his chest, half dread, half determination. Emily's arms tighten around herself, Jason shifts uneasily, and Sophie nods like she's ready. They've got time, but not much. Taylor's watching, even if she's not here. And when she walks through those doors again, they'd better be ready. The lesson's not over, it's just begun. Stay tuned, because this is where the real story starts to sing. The sun dips low over the city, casting long shadows through the glass doors of Melody and Vine. It's been days since Taylor Swift walked out, leaving her challenge. "What are you going to do about it?" ringing in their ears. The restaurant hums along, the golden lights glowing as always, the air rich with the scent of garlic and warm bread. But it's not the same. Not quite. The staff move through their shifts, servers balancing trays, chefs calling out orders. But there's a quiet undercurrent now, a shift you'd only notice if you were looking for it. Taylor's not here, her cream sweater and steady gaze just a memory, but she's everywhere. In the way Ryan pauses before speaking, in the way Emily's hands hesitate over the tablet, in the way Jason's smirk stays tucked away. They're different, not perfect, not fixed, but different. Ryan stands near the bar, flipping through a stack of reservation slips, but his mind's not on the names. It's on that night. The way he dismissed Taylor, The way her disappointment hit him harder than any boss's lecture ever could. He's managed this place for years, kept it sleek and smooth, but now he's asking himself questions he never bothered with before. What kind of leader is he? What kind of place has he let this become? He glances at Emily, who's straightening menus at the hostess stand, her movements quick but less sharp than they used to be. She catches his eye and looks away fast, like she's wrestling with the same ghosts. Jason's nearby, wiping down a table, actually wiping it, not just pretending, and Sophie's weaving through the dining room, her quiet kindness brighter than ever. They're all carrying it, that night, in their own ways. The days have been strange, tense at first, then softer. The story's out there now, buzzing on phones and whispered between guests. Taylor Swift turned away at her own restaurant. Some come just to gawk, snapping pictures of the hostess stand like it's a crime scene. Others don't mention it, but their eyes linger, judging. Ryan feels it every shift, the weight of those stares, but it's not just about the gossip. It's about the promise they made, to themselves, to Taylor, to do better. Emily's voice isn't as cutting now. She greets guests with a tight smile instead of a snap. Jason stopped muttering under his breath, his hands busy instead of idle. Sophie's the same. Kind, steady, but there's a pride in her step, like she knows she sparked something when she spoke up. They're trying, fumbling through it, but trying. And then it happens, a moment that tells them if this is real or just a show. The dinner rush is picking up, the room alive with chatter and clinking glasses, when a man walks in. He's in his late 40s, Latino, dressed in a hoodie and jeans. Not fancy, not flashy, just a guy looking for a meal. He steps up to the stand, his shoulders squared but his eyes cautious, like he's ready for a fight he doesn't want. Emily looks up, and for a split second, her old self flickers. Judge, dismiss, move on. Ryan sees it from across the room, his chest tightening. This is it, the test they didn't know was coming. But then Emily stops. She takes a breath, slow and deep, like she's pushing that old instinct down. "Good evening, sir," she says, her voice steady, warmer than it's ever been. "Welcome to Melody and Vine. Do you have a reservation, or would you like a table?" The man blinks, caught off guard by the kindness. No reservation," he says, his tone softening. "Just a table for one, if you've got it." Emily nods, grabbing a menu with hands that don't shake. "Of course. We'll get you seated in a moment." She leads him to a spot near the window, her steps sure, her smile small but real. Ryan watches, his breath easing out. It's not forced, not fake, just change, quiet and simple. Jason's nearby, resetting a table, and he doesn't smirk or whisper. He just nods at the man as he passes, like it's no big deal. Sophie catches Ryan's eye from the bar, a tiny smile tugging at her lips. She knows what this means, they all do. It's not about Taylor watching, not about fear of getting caught. It's about doing right because it's right. The man sits, unfolding his napkin, and the restaurant keeps moving, servers weaving, plates clattering. But Ryan feels it. Pride, real and raw, for the first time in a long time. They're not just bracing for Taylor's return anymore. They're starting to believe they can be better. Still, one question lingers, haunting every quiet moment. Will she really come back? Taylor's promise, "I'll be back, and not undercover," sits heavy in Ryan's chest as he locks up that night, the cool air brushing his face. He doesn't doubt her. She meant it. But part of him wonders, is this enough? They're trying, sure, but will people ever see them as more than the staff who turned away Taylor Swift? He doesn't know, and that's the hardest part. Emily's beside him, zipping her jacket, her usual sharpness dulled by thought. "You think she'll give us a heads up?" she asks, half joking. Ryan chuckles, dry and tired. Not a chance. They head into the night, the restaurant dark behind them, but the question follows. A week passes, then two, and the tension fades into a quiet rhythm. They're settling into something new, not flashy, not perfect, but real. The real test isn't tonight, though. It's what happens when those doors open again, when Taylor walks back in. They don't know when, but they know it's coming. And when it does, they'd better be ready, not just for her, but for themselves. The story's far from over, and the next note's about to play. The evening settles over Melody and Vine like a quiet melody, the golden lights casting a warm glow over polished tables and bustling diners. It's a Tuesday, steady but not packed, the kind of night where the staff can breathe between orders. Ryan's near the bar, checking a wine list, his shoulders looser than they've been in weeks. Emily's at the hostess stand, her fingers tapping a rhythm on the tablet, her usual sharpness softened into focus. Jason's weaving through the dining room, balancing a tray with more care than he used to. Sophie's serving a couple by the window, her smile bright but natural. They've found a new rhythm since that night, since Taylor Swift walked out with a promise to return. The days have stretched into weeks, and they've been trying, really trying, to make this place something better. But the question's always there, humming beneath every shift. When will she come back? Then the door swings open, and the air shifts, like a chord change you feel before you hear it. Taylor Swift steps inside, and the room stills. No cream sweater, no sneakers this time. She's in a fitted black top and jeans, her blonde hair loose, her presence sharp and undeniable. She's not hiding, not blending in. Just Taylor, the superstar, the owner, the woman who shook this place to its core. Ryan turns from the bar, his breath catching in his throat. Emily's fingers freeze mid-tap, her eyes widening. Jason stops dead, the tray wobbling before he steadies it. Sophie's the only one who doesn't flinch. She smiles, small and real, because she knew this moment was coming. The diners notice too, whispers rippling through the crowd. Is that her? It's her, right? But Taylor doesn't look at them. Her eyes scan the room, calm and curious, taking it all in. Emily's the first to move, stepping forward from the stand. Her heart's pounding. She can feel it, but she squares her shoulders, pushing past the old instinct to snap or shrink. "Good evening, Miss Swift," she says, her voice steady, not forced, just honest. "It's great to have you back." There's no tremble, no fake cheer, just a welcome, plain and real. Taylor studies her for a beat, her hazel eyes searching, then nods. "Good to be back," she says, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Emily exhales, a weight lifting she didn't know she was carrying. "Would you like your usual table, ma'am?" she asks, then catches herself, a real smile breaking through. "Well, maybe tonight's the night you get one." Taylor chuckles, soft and warm, the sound cutting through the tension like a breeze. "I don't think I've ever had a usual here," she says, her tone light but pointed. Emily's smile holds, and she grabs a menu. "Then let's make it happen." Ryan steps up then, his pulse racing but his stride steady. "Welcome back, Miss Swift," he says, his voice calm, his eyes meeting hers without flinching. "Let me take care of you." He gestures toward a table near the center. Not hidden, not special, just right. And Taylor follows, her steps easy but deliberate. She sits, crossing her legs, and the room breathes again, the hum of chatter creeping back. Sophie approaches, her notepad ready, her smile bright but professional. "Good evening, everyone," she says, though it's just Taylor for now. "I'll be taking care of you tonight. We've got some great specials. Can I start you with a drink?" Her voice doesn't waver, her hands don't shake. She's not starstruck, not nervous, just doing her job, the way she would for anyone. Taylor tilts her head, watching her closely, not to judge, but to see. "Just water for now," she says, her tone casual. "And tell me about those specials." Sophie nods, listing them off with a quiet confidence. Roasted chicken with herbs, a pasta she swears is to die for. Taylor listens, her eyes flicking around the room, taking in every detail. She sees it all. Emily's back at the stand, greeting a young couple with a warmth that's new. Still a little stiff, but real. "Right this way," she says, leading them to a table without a hint of her old edge. Jason's adjusting a chair for an older woman, his hands quick but gentle, no trace of the smirk that used to define him. Ryan's checking on a family near the bar, bending down to hear a kid's request, his smile genuine, not forced. It's not a performance, not some rehearsed act for Taylor's benefit. It's them, moving through the night, treating every guest like they matter. Her fingers brush the edge of her glass as Sophie sets it down, and for the first time since that night, she feels something shift inside her. Not relief, not yet, but a spark of hope. The meal comes, simple, a plate of pasta with a sauce that sings, and Taylor eats, quiet and observant. Diners steal glances, some whispering, some snapping quick pics, but she doesn't mind. She's not here for them. She's here for this, for Melody and Vine, for the dream she built, for the people who run it. Ryan approaches as she finishes, wiping his hands on a towel, his nerves buried under a calm he's earned. "Miss Swift," he says, clearing his throat. "How was everything tonight?" Taylor sets her fork down, leaning back with a small smirk. "Best service I've had here yet," she says, her voice low but clear. Ryan exhales, a grin breaking through, and the weight that's been sitting on his chest lightens just a little. She looks around one more time. The chatter, the clinking glasses, the staff moving with a purpose they didn't have before. It's not perfect. She knows that. Change doesn't happen in a few weeks, not fully. But it's better, realer, than it was. She stands, smoothing her shirt, and the room quiets again, waiting. Ryan's still there, Emily's watching from the stand. Jason's paused mid-step, Sophie's lingering with a tray. Taylor's gaze sweeps over them, steady and proud. "You're doing good," she says, simple but heavy. "Keep it up." Ryan nods, Emily blinks, Jason shifts, and Sophie smiles wider. It's not a pat on the back, it's a push to go further. She heads for the door, her steps slow, deliberate. The staff watch, the diners hush, and Melody and Vine holds its breath. This isn't the end. It's a checkpoint, a promise kept, and a challenge renewed. Taylor's back, and she's seen them at their best so far. But she's not done watching. Not by a long shot. The night's closing, but the story's still playing. Louder, stronger, and nowhere near its final note. The hum of Melody and Vine settles into a softer rhythm as the night winds down, the golden lights casting long shadows across the dining room. Taylor Swift sits at her table, her plate cleared, her water glass half empty, her hazel eyes tracing the space she built. The staff move around her, Ryan checking tables, Emily seating a late arrival, Jason clearing dishes, Sophie pouring wine, all with a purpose that wasn't there weeks ago. It's not just about her being here, not just about the superstar in the room. It's about them, about the shift they've been chasing since that first night she walked in and they turned her away. She leans back, her fitted black top catching the light, and watches. She's seen the change, small, real steps, but she needs to know if it's deep, if it's lasting. And they need to show her. Ryan wipes his hands on his apron, his heart thudding but his face calm. He's rehearsed this moment in his head 100 times. What he'd say if she came back, how he'd prove they're not the same people who judged her sweater and sneakers. But now, standing here, all those polished words slip away. This isn't about a script. It's about truth. He steps up to her table, clearing his throat. "Miss Swift," he says, his voice firm but raw, "I owe you an apology." Taylor sets her glass down, her eyes locking on his. "For what?" she asks, her tone quiet but steady, giving him room to dig deeper. He swallows, his hands clenching then relaxing. "For how I treated you," he says, not breaking her gaze. "For how we treated you that night. But more than that, for how many people before you we probably treated the same way." The words spill out, heavy and honest, and the room feels smaller, the air thicker. Emily's at the hostess stand, her fingers tightening on a menu, hearing every syllable. Jason's nearby, stacking plates slower now, his head tilted to listen. Sophie's paused mid-step, her eyes soft but wide. Ryan's not hiding behind excuses, he's laying it bare, and it's messy, but it's real. Taylor leans forward slightly, her elbows on the table. "What changed?" she asks, her voice cutting through the hum, her eyes searching his. Ryan exhales, running a hand over the back of his neck. At first, he admits, fear. Emily stiffens, her breath catching. Jason glances over, his usual ease gone. "That night, after you left, we weren't just worried about our jobs," Ryan continues. "We were worried about what people would think, what the story would do to us." He pauses, his throat tight. "But then we started thinking about something else." Taylor raises an eyebrow, her expression unreadable. "And what was that?" Ryan holds her gaze, his voice steadying. "What if we weren't afraid of getting caught? What if we were afraid of who we were becoming?" The question hangs there, raw and sharp. Emily looks down, her shoulders slumping like she's feeling it too. Jason shifts, his hand still, his face serious for once. Sophie smiles faintly, because she's known this all along. This isn't about fear anymore. It's about growing into something better. Taylor's silent for a long beat, then nods, slow and deliberate. "That's a good answer," she says, and Ryan lets out a breath he didn't know he was holding. But she's not done. "What are you doing about it?" Her voice is firm now, a push for more than words. Ryan straightens, Ready for this? We've made changes, he says. Started diversity training for everyone, not just to check a box, but to learn how to see people, really see them. He nods toward Emily. We've stopped making snap judgments about guests. Changed the way we welcome them so no one feels like you did that night. Emily steps forward then, her voice quieter but strong. I didn't want to admit it at first, she says, her eyes meeting Taylor's. But I was wrong. The way I treated you, the way I've treated other people who I thought didn't belong. I hate that I ever thought that way. Her shoulders square, her words raw. I don't want to be that person anymore. Taylor's gaze softens, just a touch, but she doesn't speak yet. She's listening, weighing every word. Ryan keeps going. Emily and I took pay cuts for a month, he says, his voice steady. Because if we say we want to do better, we need to feel it, not just say it. Taylor's eyebrows lift slightly. She didn't expect that. And Jason, he adds, glancing at him. He's volunteered to shadow every role here, so he gets what it takes to serve people right. Jason nods, stepping closer, his face serious. It's not much, he admits, but I'm learning. His voice is quieter, no bravado, just truth. The restaurant's grown still again, the weight of their words settling into every corner. Taylor leans back, her hands folding in her lap. That's what I wanted to hear, she says, her tone final but warm. She stands, her full height commanding the room without effort. Ryan tenses, Emily blinks, Jason shifts, Sophie waits. Taylor extends her hand, and Ryan takes it, his grip firm but shaky. It's not forgiveness, not approval. It's acknowledgement, a sign they're on the right path. She looks at them all, her voice steady. I'll be watching, she says, then grins, a spark in her eyes. And next time I come back, I expect an even better experience. Emily smiles, real this time. You won't have to ask for a table. Jason chuckles, breaking the tension. And we won't judge your sweater. Taylor laughs, quick and bright. Good, 'cause I've got a killer collection. The air lightens, the weight lifting just enough. She heads for the door, her steps sure, her presence lingering even as she goes. Ryan feels it. Pride, not just for her words, but for what they're building. They're not there yet, but they're moving. And when she comes back, and she will, they'll be ready to show her more. The night's not over. It's just the start of something bigger. The doors of Melody and Vine swing open to another night, the golden lights spilling out into the cool evening air. Weeks have passed since Taylor Swift's last visit, since her handshake with Ryan and her quiet promise. I'll be watching. The restaurant's alive again, humming with the clatter of plates, the murmur of diners, the soft rhythm of a place finding its footing. It's not just a high-end spot anymore, not just a name tied to a superstar. It's something more, a test of heart, a promise kept, a space where every step matters. Ryan feels it as he locks the front door after a long shift, the weight in his chest lighter now, replaced by something steady. Emily's beside him, her usual sharpness gone, her eyes thoughtful. Jason's laughing with Sophie near the bar, his old smirk softer, earned. They've changed, not in loud, flashy ways, but in the quiet, real ones that stick. The days after Taylor's return weren't easy. Ryan had called a meeting that night, gathering the team when the last guest left. I don't want us to be a place that only does right when someone's watching, he'd said, his voice tired but firm. I want every person who walks in here to feel like they belong, every day. Emily had nodded, her arms uncrossed for once. I don't want to be that person again, she'd said, echoing her confession to Taylor. Jason had leaned forward, serious. So what do we do? And Ryan had laid it out, training, accountability, real effort. Not for Taylor, but for them. They'd started small. Emily greeting every guest like they mattered. Jason listening instead of joking. Sophie leading by example. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Then came the quiet tests, moments no one saw coming. One night, a woman walked in, plain cardigan and tired eyes, her son spilling juice 5 minutes after sitting. Emily didn't sigh or snap. She knelt down, napkin in hand, smiling. No worries, happens to everyone, she said, and the boy giggled, his mom relaxing. Sophie watched, her heart swelling. This was it, the change they'd promised. Another evening, a man in a worn jacket hesitated at the door. Jason didn't smirk or turn away. He waved him in. Welcome to Melody and Vine. Table for one? The man nodded, surprised. and Ryan felt a flicker of pride. They weren't waiting for Taylor anymore. They were doing it for themselves. But Taylor hadn't forgotten. One night, a woman dined alone, unassuming, warm, watching everything. She saw Emily's kindness, Jason's focus, Ryan's steady hand helping a server with a tray. She didn't say much, just smiled and left. But later, Ryan's phone buzzed. Dwayne Johnson. No, wait, Taylor Swift. His stomach flipped, but not with fear this time. Hey, Ryan. Her voice came through, deep and sure. I heard you're doing the work. He swallowed, nodding into the dark. We are. A pause, then, good. That's the kind of leadership that lasts. He exhaled, pride settling in, not for her approval, but for what it meant. She'd sent a friend, not to catch them, but to see if the lesson stuck. And it had. Tonight, the doors open again, and Taylor walks in, not alone this time. Her mom's beside her, her laughter soft. Friends from her early days trail behind, their voices mingling. A business partner nods at the decor. She's in a sleek jacket and jeans, her blonde hair catching the light, her presence filling the room without trying. The air shifts, but not with tension, with anticipation. Ryan steps forward, his grin real. Welcome back, Miss Swift, he says, warm and steady. We've got a great table for you. No hesitation, no fuss, just hospitality, the way it should be. Taylor smiles, wide and bright. Good to hear. Emily leads them to a table near the center. Not special, just perfect. Her steps sure, her voice kind. Here you go, she says, setting menus down. Sophie's there next, her notepad out, her smile glowing. Good evening, everyone. Any drinks to start? Taylor's mom orders a wine, her friend a soda, and Taylor sticks with water, her eyes darting around. She sees it, Jason adjusting a chair for her business partner, Ryan checking on a nearby table, Emily seating a latecomer with a nod. It's smooth, natural, not a show. They're treating her group like anyone else, and that's exactly what she wanted. The meal unfolds, laughter, stories, plates of herb-crusted fish and pasta, and Taylor leans back, watching. The restaurant's alive, not just with her table, but with every guest. A couple shares dessert, an older man nods at Sophie's suggestion, a kid giggles as Jason sneaks him an extra bread roll. It's not the same melody and vine she walked into that first night. It's better, warmer, truer. Ryan stops by, his hand steady. How's everything tonight, Miss Swift? She smirks, setting her fork down. Best I've had here yet. He grins, the pride real now, earned. She stands as they finish, her group gathering coats, and the room quiets. So, Ryan, she says, folding her arms, what's next? He doesn't falter. We keep going, he says, simple and sure. Not just tonight, not just for you, for every day, every guest. Taylor nods, her eyes twinkling. That's the difference between fixing a mistake and building a legacy. Her words settle, heavy and true. She claps his shoulder, firm and warm. Proud of you guys. Emily steps up, her voice soft. Thank you, Miss Swift. Taylor chuckles. Don't thank me. Thank yourselves. You did this. She heads for the door, her group trailing, and pauses. Next time I'm here, she says, glancing back. I'll just be another customer. Ryan grins. That's what we want. The doors close behind her, and the staff exhale, standing taller. They're not nervous anymore, not waiting for a nod. They're proud, not of her praise, but of who they've become. Melody and Vine isn't just a restaurant now. It's a place where everyone belongs, a legacy carved from mistakes and mended with heart. Ryan turns to his team, his voice steady. We did it tonight. Let's do it tomorrow. Emily nods, Jason laughs, Sophie beams. The lights dim, the night ends, but the story sings on, stronger, realer, forever changed. Taylor's mark is here, not in her fame, but in the soul they've built. And that's how a lesson turns into something that lasts. And there you have it. The doors of Melody and Vine close on a night that changed everything. A story of mistakes, heart, and a legacy that's just beginning to sing. What did you think? Did Taylor's return hit you as hard as it hit Ryan and the crew? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear where this journey took you. If this tale of growth and grit struck a chord, give it a big thumbs up. It means the world to see your support. And hey, don't miss out on more stories like this. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you're first in line for the next one. A huge thank you to every single one of you for sticking with me through this wild ride. You're the heartbeat of these tales, and I'm so grateful you're here. Let's keep the conversation going. Where are you watching from? Tell me below, and I'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep chasing what matters, just like they did at Melody and Vine. You're the best. Thank you.